Welcome back to Advertising is Dead. We've got an interesting bunch of people to talk to today because I have my notes out. If I want to kind of start a business today, I believe that for you to understand where your learnings really come from are from people who are really building strong businesses. And I two people here who have actually done that and are doing that in such an interesting manner. I've spoken about them in introduction, but welcome to the show. Welcome Pallavi, welcome Mamta.
Thank you
Excited
so much.
for our
Thank you so
conversation
much.
today.
Thank you, Varun, for having us here.
Likewise.
I want to kind of start off by asking each of you, and I will promise this will not be musical chairs. I will not ask both of you the same questions. I'll try and keep this as pointed as possible. But to start off, I want to actually ask both of you how this journey began. How does the journey of Super Bottoms and Odette really begin? I'll start off with you, Pallavi, and then I'll come to Mamta.
Right. So, Varun, my journey began with my baby's bum. So that's how I always put it, because when I became a mother, I was like any new mother told to use langot as much as possible, use disposables lesser. That's the typical advice any new mom gets, especially in India. And that's what I also was told. And that's what I started doing. But eventually I realized that both had their problems. And also, I'm a little obsessive about sustainability. There's this new term floating around called eco anxiety. So I used to get it every time there was a basket full of diapers going out, and it used to be a trigger. So that's when I thought there has to be something which gives me the convenience of a disposable diaper button cloth. And that's how I started to look for something, and Super Bottoms was born out of that need.
I have a bunch of questions on this side because I have 4.5-year-old. I've been through this process of trying to find the right diapers. Went through that entire cloth versus everything else perspective as well. But I'm going to come to that. But I'm first going to come to Mamta and ask about how her journey started. I'm going to come back because I have a very interesting follow-up on what you just said.
So my journey starts from right when I was, I think, 14 or 15 years old. And I was deeply inclined towards anything to do with fashion. And so that's when I wanted to go to FIT in New York for studying fashion. But since I came from a background, which is a Marwari background, my father insisted I couldn't do that. But the inclination never died out. So we, as a family business, were into fabric exports, started by my father, went into garment exports, which is to mostly the European countries, which is currently looked after by my younger brothers. And so we moved on. It was a journey. We moved on from men clothing, we moved on to women clothing, we moved on to kids clothing. But out of the blue, I realized that, okay, the garment thing is doing extremely well. We're doing very well. But what about accessories when it comes to women? Because a woman, in my opinion, is very, very incomplete as a look if not accessorized well. So I said, the garments are looking good. What about the shoes? What about the belt? What about the neck piece which comes on and the earrings which come on? So I started looking up brands which are providing accessories currently in the country. And sorry to say, I'm not trying to put anybody down, but didn't really fancy me to the extent that I would say I would want to buy this. So that's when the idea came in that there is a huge gap here with very high fashion accessories. Yes, the basics are available, whether you go to Amazon, whether you go to Flipkart or Myntra, or any of these brands. Myntra and Nykaa today, yes, are doing a lot of fashion stuff. But my reach for fashion has always been a little deeper, a little different. And I couldn't find that on these sites. So that's when I started Odette overnight, wherein, of course, my family said, where are you going into accessories? We've got a family background of garments, fabrics. It's totally new. Are you sure you want to do this? I said, yes, I want to do this. And I just started. From my home, sitting on a sofa, and I said, let me just post some stuff on Facebook, Instagram, see how it goes. The response was so good. That's when I started on a site, and we developed a site, and we moved on. And today, from accessories, we moved on to deeper categories because of the great response. We're doing accessories, we're doing shoes now, we're doing sunglasses, we're doing hats, fascinators. All these categories are not very easily available in this country. Very basic ones, yes, again. Then we moved into Indian clothing now. We've moved into home decor. We've moved into essentials in terms of skincare. We've just launched, I was talking to Kamayani about it. We've just launched our new collection on perfumes yesterday, which is a perfume biodate. So just to give you a perspective, I'm looking at being a one-stop shop for any woman that you need anything to wear, you would get it here.
What I find interesting, and I'm actually going to do have a follow-up on that one, is that you started one category and you expanded from one to many others.
Yes.
How did you proceed to say, okay, this is a category I start with, and how did you kind of look at adding them on? How does that process of adding on work for you?
So
that they want to start with everything, right? So I would give consumers options. You said, I'm going to pick one. So how did that kind of go? How do you decide on that?
So I decided on that with a simple thing that I started with neck pieces and earrings, to be very precise. That was the first category that I added on the site. Then we moved on to belts. But then when you wear a belt, it's a woman thing again, that the belt and shoes should match, should look good together. So we moved into shoes. Then I looked at derbies in this country, and I said, these hats and fascinators that you see women wearing in Italy, France, and anywhere else in the world are not very easily available here. So we looked into hats and fascinators. Then it went on as a journey. We moved into sunglasses. So accessories was captured more or less. And then we realized that there's a huge scope for Indian clothing as well, because when you want to buy Indian clothing today, you either get very basic stuff, which is more towards daily wear, or you get very high fashion, great looking stuff with designer stores like Ensemble and Ogan and many more, Aza and many more. So there was again a gap of something between a basic and a very highly priced, like a 30, 40, 50,000 garment. Something which would fit into like a 3, 4, 5,000 cap, which is very nice looking. You could wear it to your weddings and engagements and etc. etc. So that's when I launched Indian clothing, which is again one of our top sellers as of today. It's hardly 4 to 5 months old, but with a ratio of already 60% of my turnover is Indian clothing today. So yeah, so we're again moving on to Western wear shortly. Okay. So it's again with the feel that it should be all available under one umbrella, that you don't need to look at any other site when you want to buy anything for yourself.
And you keep moving into that gap. From one gap leads to the other gap.
I keep looking out for those gaps.
Yeah. Speaking of gaps, and Pallavi, I want to come to you on this one, is that one of the most interesting parts of how you built Super Bottoms has been the fact that you went to the community who actually who saw the gap, right? Is that a large part of your initial growth and how you kind of grown has been through Facebook groups, has been through that core set of, I think in agencies, we call it the mom groups, but I feel that it's far larger than that, just from like a mindset and reach in that perspective. So how did that kind of amplification happen for you when you went to the groups and saw the need there? How did that journey go?
So the way it started was, when I was a new mom, and typically I think they say that it takes a village to raise a child, and today the village has gone online, I feel, and there are all these communities and WhatsApp groups that you are a part of, or you can be a part of if you want to, and they're very powerful because you get a lot of authentic advice from other parents. You get to talk to experts, and I realized that this is a place where everyone is, and people trust each other a lot there. There are people who make friends over there which last lifetime, and they have not even seen each other or met each other. A lot of women or new mothers especially depend a lot on these communities for advice, for mental support, just for a break, because these are literally the only adults they sometimes get to talk to, right? So I was a part of these groups as a new mother, and I just realized that if I'm starting something in baby care, these are the people obviously I should reach out to for ideas on what to do, or what are the gaps, or what are the problems they are facing. Because I, of course, was facing a problem, but there were different versions of it being faced by other parents. So first, I went to them for research, for understanding on what is exactly the challenge. The second was when I made some prototypes. I needed different babies, right? My baby was a medium wetter. I needed a heavy wetter. I needed a light wetter. So there's a range of babies and their range of wetting patterns and all of that. So then I reached out to them saying, "Hey, I have some products. Would you like to try them out?" And they of course, I've always realized one thing: if you ask for help, you will get it. And I got a lot of help from these communities who would come back, and they were very very encouraging about the fact that I was starting something, right? So these communities helped me at every stage, right from product concept testing to product initial studies to word of mouth and to reviews. And even today, I think some of our biggest one of our biggest channels would be these Facebook communities or the WhatsApp groups.
You know, just kind of tap into the community one a little more, right? And I think in many ways, because you went, and I'm a person who's obsessed with. I think maybe because I've been in charge of the lubric's for my daughter for way too long, 4.5 years. It's a obsessive focus area for me. When you look at the kinds of products available out there and look at the options there, it's both at some points overwhelming because there's so much there, but the
Right.
other points also, you're never specifically getting what you're looking for. So when you involved, different mothers into that whole process and to kind of build it out, and then um, pushing it ahead, do you also feel that you formed almost a core set of, okay, these are my core consumers who are almost my prototype in charge, like they're your R&D, let's call
Yeah.
it that, they are literally your R&D, and then you kind of add more into that. But over time, do you have a system that you follow in that, or is it still very free flowing?
So initially, of course, it was a little free flowing. I still remember when I gave a few diapers to one of my customers to test, because she was very, very finicky and used to keep on giving me a lot of critical feedback. So I thought I might as well give
Your
her the
job is
diaper.
R&D, you give too much feedback anyway, so like.
Yeah. So, and she made a nice Excel sheet and gave back the feedback. I was very impressed. I said, okay, here's a mother who makes feedback and puts it in an Excel sheet and gives to me. But I think that expanded. And today we have a database of babies, and we have a group of about 60,000 parents on Facebook. We reach out there and we actually ask people saying, we want a baby 5 kgs, medium wetter, testing required, this and that. And we have this entire system in place where we send out samples to them, collect data. Of course, we also have the formal testing that we do in laboratories, but I think this is unmatched, because here mothers give us feedback right up to the point of, Pallavi, this button should be a little on this side, and then this will do it, or this little gap that is happening, this is causing a problem. And I think that has really kept us ahead in terms of the competition and everything, by getting such micro feedback. And today, of course, we have a formalized systems, but right from the initial days, we had this group of core set of people who are very, very conscious about their parenting choices, who would give us the most critical feedback that we could work on.
Speaking of feedback, and I want to come to you, Mamta, on this. Obviously, as you spread across categories, and accessories, especially because that's where you kind of kicked it off from. People are very finicky about exactly the kind they like, right? And maybe finicky is too
Yes.
extreme a word to use. But like you said, you went out, you couldn't find the kind which you wanted, so you decided to make it yourself. So I'm sure there are
Yep.
enough people who would have. So how do you look at that aspect? How do you look at what consumers really want, and how has that consumer really evolved with your
So
business?
that's quite funny actually, because there are some styles which I think will do so well, right? And sometimes they do well, sometimes they just don't. Sometimes I don't like certain styles because I feel they're too common, etc. But they just become our bestseller. So it's a very tricky situation here, especially with this kind of population, with this kind of different thoughts and everything, different likings by customers. It's difficult. So the challenge here is to have, what I realize is to have a combination of all sorts, and not try to bring in my own choices here, because maybe that's something I like, and maybe that's not something somebody else would like, because it's not their choice. So what I'm trying to do now is trying to put in a bit of all sorts of looks across categories, so that I'm trying to capture each and every segment of population in this country, so that there is something for everybody. Whether you're high fashion, whether you want to have something high priced, you want to have something medium priced, you want to have something low priced, you want to have something which is more basic. So yes, now I'm getting into a bit of basics as well for daily use. That's another line that I'm coming up with. So along with high fashion, it's going to be a combination of high fashion as well as basics at the same line. Yeah, so that's to bridge the gap between different consumers. I hope this answers your question.
It definitely does.
Yeah.
And what I also find interesting is, and I think that goes to both your business, right? A large part of your audience interaction, community building, as well as sales outreach actually happens through Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, which is, I mean, in many ways, that is the most like new age thing ever, right? You know, at some point you bypass everything, literally gone to one ecosystem, everything kind of happens through that.
Yes.
Mamta, I want to ask you, and I'll come to Pallavi right after that. How do each of these kind of help across your entire process as a business?
So Facebook is tremendous for us. It's the highest return for us because the reach is so huge. It's so huge. The targeting is so huge. So the marketing department that we have, they kind of keep retargeting, re-optimizing the ads to get a better ROAS absolutely on our ads and the campaigns that we run. So Facebook is at number one for us. There are, of course, others. Instagram, of course, again, is huge, where we post daily, we boost daily. So there's more reach for our posts. More people see it. Following has to increase. WhatsApp, we have tried in the past. I've brought it up to the WhatsApp team as well. We started with a lot of broadcasting. We did daily broadcasts of, let's say, 3 to 4 articles every day with a smaller customer base. But now our customer base is so huge that we are not able to do that customer daily broadcast anymore because they kind of ban you. They don't allow you to do it. So I have written to them that please allow us to do this, maybe with a with a cost attached to it or something like that, without spamming people generally. But I think these 3 platforms generally are fantastic. WhatsApp today, my entire customer care is through WhatsApp. It's all channelized through WhatsApp. There's a customer care number. You come back to us on WhatsApp. You ask us your questions. We reply to you within maximum 12 hours and solve your questions there. So each one of them, I think, as a platform, has helped us grow tremendously, along with other channels, of course, which I would not like to name here, but many more platforms where we are visible for marketing. But I think 70 to 80% of it comes through Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp.
Pallavi, this is data I've actually gotten from your team only, is that about 60-70% of your sales is through WhatsApp, which I find, now you've taken the WhatsApp group for moms and you've extended that to literally sales channel for yourself. So how has that really scaled up for you, and obviously other platforms as well?
Right. So, right from the start point for us in the consumer journey, which is awareness, we use WhatsApp a lot. As I told you, there are groups, and somehow we have realized that new mothers are very comfortable chatting on WhatsApp than on calls. So we use WhatsApp extensively. I have a team of almost 15 people only manning our WhatsApp support helpline. So we use WhatsApp for awareness. We use WhatsApp for feedback and also video demos. So it's a new concept. Cloth diapers in India is fairly new, and a lot of help is required for a parent to start using cloth diapers. And of course, when it comes to babies, people have thousands of queries. So typically they want to show the diaper, so they'll usually click a photograph and send it to us saying, is this fit right? And then we can really offer them real-time feedback very quickly. And I think nothing is faster in that sense. Also, for that matter, if someone is really struggling, or initially we have an option on our website where you can book a video demonstration, and then we actually get on a video call with this parent, and we actually demonstrate how to use the product. We have a team doing that. Our conversion on video demos on WhatsApp is 97%. So if 100 people take a video demo on our product, 97 people actually end up purchasing. So Yeah, and doing this on any other channel. See, WhatsApp is so prevalent that it's so easy for us to reach out to the customer because she is already there on WhatsApp. So I think in that sense, we have really exploited WhatsApp, I would say. And so right from awareness, feedback, and education, or even what Mamta mentioned, this is something I relate to completely, Mamta. I feel that a print will work beautifully and the customer doesn't take it, and then sometimes we feel that, oh, this is just not going to work, and they just pick it up.
Absolutely.
Like,
It's
and
the
so
other
we,
way.
yeah, we do this little voting thing on our community, on Facebook community, where we, before we launch anything, we ask them to vote, will I, and a simple question, will buy, not will not buy. And it has actually helped us reduce the chances of not getting it right, or sitting with unsellable inventory.
Yeah.
So all stages, I think we have used Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram now a lot in that sense.
Yeah, I think just to add to this, WhatsApp is, I think, the most brilliant way to communicate with anybody. The feedbacks that we get from customers on customer care is, why don't you introduce this? Why don't you introduce this segment? Why don't you introduce callers? So we say, yeah, why not? So we make sure that that particular category is added on to the next collection. So it's absolutely wonderful how we get to learn so much from WhatsApp. In terms of what the customers would like us to do going ahead. So that's brilliant feedback.
Yeah.
It's direct feedback from these customers, right? Like Pallavi's rightly said, that the feedback that you get from them directly on WhatsApp is much better than emailers and things like that. It's more personalized. There's more personal touch to it.
I have a ton more questions to ask, but before my producer tells me, and she normally has to remind me, I've remembered that we need to go in for a break. So we're going to take a break and be right back with Advertising is Dead. Welcome back to Advertising is Dead. We're still talking to Pallavi and Mamta. We focus on many of the granular aspects of your business, but what I actually want to also talk to both of you about is your journeys as entrepreneurs, right? Because one is the product and what you build out. The other is the journey you as an individual kind of go through, you and your team kind of go through. I want to first start off with you, Pallavi, and ask you that for you, obviously it came from a need and then obviously a community, but how has the process of building a business been for you? What have you kind of learned? What did you start off thinking, okay, this is some stuff which I think this is how it's going to be, and what have you learned along the way?
Varun, I think learning literally, it has been a lot of concentrated learning. Every day there's a new challenge. So sometimes you really are like, okay, I really need a break from this. But I think it started more out of a need as a passion project. I was on a maternity break and I had time on hand. It started like that. I was also doing a job. I was working as a marketing manager in a company. So this was more like a, just let's try it out. But it had a mind of its own. It started to grow from strength to strength. And then as a new mother, I realized there were a lot of these lovely women, smart women, who were on a break because they couldn't take up a full-time job. Corporate cultures are not suited for new mothers at all, right? So they were sitting at home, and so some of them I reached out to saying, will you just work and help me for like 2 hours a day? And they said, yeah, sure, why not? And that's how the core team got formed, right? So early on, for a bootstrap startup, which was funded via my savings, I think I got really smart people working on my team very, very early on. And even today, the core team is new mothers. So one thing I did right, I think, in Super Bottom's journey was to get these new mothers on board. Of course, as we grew, then we got funding, and then now, of course, it has become a far more professional and a formal setup in that sense. But in terms of learning, I would say every day, even now, it's like, as Amazon puts it, is day one every day. So it's like that. And I think what has also been a major thing is, as a woman entrepreneur, there were a lot of challenges. I had a baby on hand to look after, and there was always this question about how much of a mother am I today and how much of a businesswoman am I today. But I think that has, overall, I think I've grown a lot as a person in the past few years thanks to the business.
I think that last point especially is super important and relevant, right? It's often, and I'm speaking as a guy who's very open. Someone say, okay, you can go to a business even if you have a baby at home, but I know that question comes up, and I think that's a question that should, honestly, I don't know why it still comes up, but it does come up. Mamta, with you, I actually want to ask you a slightly more extended version of the question, is to say that you came from a family which had a business already, and then you had to move towards this. Did you find that your learnings from what you were initially doing to when you started Audit off, how did that transition change you as someone who ran a business and built something out? Because you went from what was already like
It's
in some
very
ways secure to something which is okay, this is entirely mine, I'm doing it how I want it to be done. How did that transition happen?
So basically, coming from a garment background and moving to an accessory background was super difficult. Uh, I was edgy at the beginning. Is this going to work? Is this not going to work? How am I going to do this? But each day, like Pallavi's rightly brought up, that each day you learn so much that this is a mistake I've made today. I don't want to make this tomorrow. My learning also comes from my last 2 hours of the day when I'm back home. I learn a lot there, where I try to see what other brands are doing, what I can do to improvise with my own site. What other additions do I need to do? What are the deletions that I need to do? What do I need to delete here? How can I make customer care better? So the different fields that I want to work on, if I may break it into pieces, is number one, the collection. So the collection, the learning that I have got is newness. Every customer has to see newness on my site every day that you log in, because that's something I learned from myself, that when I log into any new site or any site that I'm fond of, I want to see something new every day or every time that I log in. I don't want to see the same old things. And oh my God, it's the same stuff. I don't want to waste my time over this. So that's a learning. That's also a learning that I had from Zara as a brand, because we manufacture for Zara in the garments that we did, that there has to be newness. Zara always did express deliveries as in 45-day delivery in every part of the world. You would see new stuff. We had to do those kind of deliveries for them. So I do the same. I do 2 collections per month now. Every 15 days, I shoot a collection of 700 odd articles, new SKUs, and which is a combination of various categories. So the next 15 days, we obviously edit and we try to see how we want to promote these articles and come up. And so that entire collection of 700 articles, you would see live on the site in bits and pieces of 50, 30, 40 each every day. Right. So as a customer, when you log into the site, you will see newness there. It could be 10 articles today, it could be 5 articles today, it could be 30 tomorrow, it could be 50 tomorrow, depending on how fast the editing has been done and how fast we've been able to post it. So that's been a learning, that newness is the key. The second thing that I learned was being price conscious. You cannot be very expensive because expensive brands are too many in this country, where you would get good stuff but at exorbitant prices. So the catch here, the difficult part is to give them newness but at a good price, where you don't have to think twice about buying it. So my key here is that when you visit my site, you should be able to come out with buying something or the other. Maybe it's a earring of $899. Maybe it's a bag of 1,500, maybe it's a lehenga of 3,000, but come out buying something. So that's been a learning, to maintain the price with the newness. The third challenge that I saw over time was customer care, where they want very fast deliveries. They want 2-day delivery, they want 1-day delivery. So we started looking into that how can we make this much faster? The team started increasing, the fulfillments have to be much faster. The QC team has to be faster. The quality check has to be faster. Packing department needs to increase so that the deliveries leave on time. So this is something I learned from brands like Amazon Prime, etc., that you have same-day deliveries. Of course, I can't do same-day deliveries in a country like this. But we are trying to get it down to a 48-hour delivery in any part of the country. So that's another learning. The other learning that I have as a site is customer returns in terms of RTOs. So how do we get that down? The percentage. So as a site, I have been trying to control my RTO levels, and I've successfully done it with last month closing at 13%, which is far low compared to the industry standards of, I think, 30 to 35% returns. And I have been able to capture that. I don't know if this helps, Pallavi, with a separate team where I brought in this concept of calling the customers before every dispatch. So I have three people devoted there. where they call the customers and they ask, okay, this is your order placed, this is your amount, and we've dispatched it. You would receive it in the next 2 or 3 days max. And the customer says, no, I'm sorry, I've changed my mind. I don't want this product. So we cancel it right.
Yeah.
So we cancel it right there and then, and we don't ship it. So we don't ship it. So you save.
Do you see that as scalable though? I'm just sorry. That's interesting because as your customer base grows,
the number of people increase. The number of people. The number of people.
It's worth investing in, Varun, even if it's.
I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. This is from the data of last month. So if you do what Amazon does, that you just get the order and you ship it out.
Yeah.
I put close to 150 rupees on a shipment going and coming back to me. Right. But if I pay a salary of 15,000 to a person and I employ 5 people there, it's much, much lesser than the shipping charges I'm paying to ShipLite for those 300 shipments, which will go and come back, So it's much better. And obviously you save your manpower on packing. You've packed that product, it's gone out. It's come back again. You've unpacked the product. Again, you have to invert that product. You have to barcode that product. You have to invert that product. So you're saving manpower at every stage.
You'd rather just add 2 more people, 5 more people to just do those calls.
Absolutely.
That's super interesting.
Absolutely. So I have been
build a relationship. Do you think that helps build a relationship as well with the consumer? They suddenly
yes.
Yes.
Because there's a kind of a personal touch where the customer says, okay, I've ordered a pink sari, but can you please change it to a red? In that style. So yeah, fine, we'll edit the order and we'll send you the red. So it's very instant. The customer gets a choice to rethink and evaluate the order in terms of, there are chances where there are 3 articles in an order and they say, okay, just ship these 2, cancel the third one, ship me these 2, or you ship out all 3, but I've forgotten to use my coupon code. Can you please ship it with my discount of 10% or 15% or whatever the code is at that moment of time? So we say, okay, fine, we'll edit the order for you. We edit the order, we rebook the shipment and we ship it out. So again, all these factors eventually reduce your RTO levels. Since I'm on marketplaces like Myntra, Nykaa, I'm on Amazon, Flipkart, LimeRoad, all of these sites. Their RTO levels are 33% odd, 30 to 35% when I reconcile at the end of the month. And I said, no, I am not going to have this kind of an RTO level. I cannot. I don't want to. Maybe they're fine with it, but I'm not. Because you see, for them, it's very different. The RTOs don't go back to them. The RTOs go back to us, the vendors, right? So it's very difficult on us to open those parcels again and to, again, invert and all that process again.
Yeah.
And I said, no, I want to get this down. So I was at 20 odd %, and I've been very closely monitoring with my logistics guys as well, that if the shipment is in transit for more than 3 days, why is it in transit? So I take an MIS report from them daily. And there's a team which tracks it daily, saying that, okay, 14 shipments are in transit, 120 shipments are in transit, but it's crossed the TAT of 3 days. Why is it so? So they give us reasons. Okay, the number is not reachable. Can you give us an alternate number? The address is not found. Can you give us some help there? So that team again helps them back with that data and closes it and makes sure that the shipments are delivered and not RTO'd. Because for a logistic company, it's very easy to just take it in transit and say, okay, I'm not able to deliver, let me just return it back. So that again adds to my RTO levels. So these are small little things, but it's a great learning. It's absolutely great.
It's super learning as well. When I'm thinking about it, is that because the number of returns you see, like, and I'm talking from a consumer side, right? I know that people just buy something, okay, I want to just see how it is. And sometimes you forget, okay, did I even order that? I've heard those statements.
Absolutely.
I've been guilty of those statements myself. I cannot put it on other people alone.
Absolutely. Cancellation comments, by mistake, I placed the order. I mean, I'm like, are you serious? By mistake, you placed the order. You went on a checkout by mistake. But I mean,
Pallavi does not have a by mistake I place this order problem. I'm hoping.
No, so Varun, I'm lucky. Diapers are a non-returnable category. I'm
really.
Yes. It's a hygiene product.
I would hope they would be non-returnable, because I would
yes. So Mamta, a lot of
when I say non-returnable, I mean see, there's a difference, right? RTO is return to origin. It's
Yes.
not even
So
reached the
RTOs we
customer.
have, Mamta. RTOs we have, and what we do, we have a lot of systems in place. Like, however, calling. So we do automated calls. We do a few things. Thankfully, we haven't faced. Fashion is fashion. I think the returns problem in fashion is quite high.
Correct.
Thankfully, in baby products and diapers, it's far lower. And considering ours is a hygiene product, it's even lower. So that would, but thankfully, I have been blessed on that front. But I know you've touched a raw nerve here in terms of returns and RTOs. It's quite a pain. And
It's
it's
quite a
all,
pain. Quite a
yeah.
pain.
So Varun, when I see my friends saying, "I Myntra se 4 order kiya and then I return to it, it hurts." So, yeah.
No, so this when
known to
I
those
was
people.
talking about this was actually RTO. So if you're talking about customer return, I don't have that as an option on my site. You
Okay.
could exchange it to any product of your choice.
Yeah.
Within 48 hours of receiving a product. You can come back to customer care and say, I don't like this product, or I have received it in a different way, or it's been damaged in transit. I would like an exchange. So we exchange the product. So from a customer point of view, a return for me is zero. It's zero. I don't entertain that like the other brands, because I have my own rules here, right? With an accessory brand, it's very easy for a woman to take the product, wear it, party out tonight, and return it tomorrow, right? I think Pallavi would agree to me with me on this, that it's very easy for me to just wear a neck piece, party out, and tomorrow say, I'm sorry, I don't like this product, please take it back. So I said, I'm not going to follow these rules by other brands. I'm going to have my own rules here, that you can exchange it, but you cannot return it and refund it.
Interesting.
You have
You know?
interesting perspective on. I feel oftentimes what we don't take into thought is that the entire process that a product has to kind of go through, rather that cycle, is so different from category to category.
Yeah.
But at some of the learnings, like for me, this call before you send, or the WhatsApp video one, I think some of those are just like so like, they seem like, why don't more people do that, is literally my first response. I think I've only gotten a call like that once when I remember I ordered a t-shirt which I actually found on Instagram, and I ordered, and they actually called me and told me about how it fits, which I found very interesting. Someone actually called me and told me this is how it fits. It fits this way on people. So do you want to order a size which is bigger in case you want it to be loose, or you can stick to this if you want to slightly tighter? And I thought, as a consumer, now I've bought from there again and again. I think what also gets added on what both of you have said is that it makes me as a consumer remember the brand more.
Yes.
Because I know I got that extra layer of interaction.
The brand
Rather
recall.
than just being it's not cold. There is some human interaction.
Absolutely.
There is something
Absolutely.
there in that
Very
sense.
important, I feel, for any brand, any category, any product.
Pallavi, moving ahead, what do you see as trends for the future, especially in your area of business that you're looking to move into and expand towards?
So, Varun, in terms of, I think overall the parenting trend is changing towards more conscious choices. People are becoming aware of what am I putting on my child, on my kid, on, so I think overall more aware choices are coming out. People want to understand the brand. People want to know what is the story of the brand. I think that is one big change that is happening. Initially, it was just go to the local shop, pick whatever I like and bring it. But now people want to know the story. People are ready to even pay a premium if they really relate to the brand. So I think that emotional connect it is happening, and it is increasing. We see a lot of that, and people call out brands. So if we do something which is not in line with our brand story, you can be sure that your customers will come back and tell you that, hey, we didn't expect this out of you, which happens. I think that is increasing a lot. In terms of products, I think we have set expectations. We are actually now giving people options to bring out innovative products. I always say that the digital media has helped brands like us, which are niche and innovative, to reach out to consumer, which we couldn't do before, right? Because we have no direct channel to the customer. We now have, and it is inexpensive relatively, of course. So that, and therefore the customers are also now expecting more. They want more innovative products, interesting products. So even on apparel, initially they would get just basic apparel, but now they want organic. They want to know what is going on, behind the scenes, etc. So I think overall the trend is towards more conscious parenting choices generally, or product choices, not just parenting to that matter. I think anything at all.
And Mamta, what are you looking at as you focus towards future? Obviously, you've gone from category to category as you expanded. You've also spoken about being a one-stop shop. But what are you seeing as trends, especially in your industry, which you're looking to kind of tap into and move towards?
So the trends that I would look into is basically newer looking ads, the way you shoot your products, the way you project your product outside to the world has to look very, very international. I think that's my base. I want my products to look very, not, I'm not saying it's international, it's made in India, but the look should be very European per se, because that's the way I like it, which is also one of the reasons why I don't if you see my shoots, it's only with European models. I have some kind of an inclination towards that. So newness in terms of looks, so each shoot has to look different, the ambience has to be different, the collection has to be very different looking, the way you shoot it has to be different, the attires have to be different. Otherwise it causes boredom for the customers to see the same campaigns and the same looks and the same ads that pop up on Facebook, on Instagram. So each campaign that we do is very different from the other one. So every time you see an ad, you see, okay, this is something different. Let me tap into it. Let me click. At least let me click. And once you click, you will obviously buy something. So I think that's very important to keep that newness on and not become stagnant with your look and the entire feel. The feel has to keep changing. So there is a team which looks into that what is the new feel that we can achieve with our next shoot, what is our mood board, what do we want it to look like. So there's another 10-15 days of work which goes behind that before we come up with a look and we say, okay, we're ready to shoot now.
I want to ask a question which I feel is super relevant, and I want to pose this to both of you. Is that while the conversation has been about both of you being entrepreneurs, I feel there is, unfortunately, in the world we live in, there is always a certain level of pushback that you get because you're a woman entrepreneur. I hate to add the woman tag to anything, but it's a fact, and
Sadly, yes.
we need to talk about that.
Yeah.
I want to ask each of you, what have you kind of faced as points of like barriers, be it on the funding side, be it on the functioning side, be it on any aspect of what your journey has been about, that has you had to push back against primarily because of your gender, not for any other reason. Pallavi, I'll start with you, and Mamta, I'd love your response right after Pallavi's done.
So, Varun, you said women entrepreneur. Now there's another subset of it, mompreneur. So initially this term used to really get to me, and I used to get very irritated, saying, "Why mompreneur? Are you calling all fathers who are entrepreneurs dadpreneurs? No. Then why this special treatment to mompreneurs?" But I think over time I made peace with it, because there are challenges that I faced. Multiple. I think first is that people assume that as a woman entrepreneur, she would not be serious about making the business big. It is a hobby business. I had situations where I approached investors and they told me that unless and until your husband joins the business, we will not be comfortable investing, because आपका क्या है, आप बंद करके
just listening to this podcast, this is an eye roll happening on all fronts for everybody sitting here because of that. But I agree, it's terrible. But
it was quite sad. But Varun, it is what it is, and they actually went on to say that tomorrow, if your husband's location changes, you'll just wrap the business and move on, right? So how do we get the confidence that you are into it? So that, and these kind of things keep on coming. There were suppliers who would not even talk to me. They would just think that it's some. So I used to tell my husband that please talk to him, at least get the initial conversation rolling. After that, then I would enter. It is it was like that, but of course things change as you grow, as the brand grows. Ultimately people start taking you seriously. You also learn how to deal with these biases. You also start having fun with it beyond a point. Sometimes I love to surprise people. Now, if there was this recent call that happened and he said, why don't you ask and get back to us? I said, listen, I am the decision maker here. Who do you expect me to ask? So these things happen. And then but I think, Varun, overall things are changing, and this Women's Day, it was about breaking the the bias, and I think there are a lot of biases we also have as women. We also hold back ourselves a lot of times, and we are also sometimes not assertive enough, thinking I might be seen as aggressive, and is that okay? So I think that is something I have really consciously decided to, or rather I'm trying to overcome.
Some very, I think that's an important point to kind of take it in that sense, and it's good to see that you're seeing that change. That Mansi, about you, what have you kind of what have the experiences been for you through this process? Where we really had to push back and say, 1 second, just don't add the, just because of the gender, don't get into that part of it.
So for me, rightly so, I have been extremely bold right from the beginning. When thankfully my father, he always said that I don't have two sons. You're like my son. You're not like my daughter. So coming from a very conventional background, a Marwari background, I saw my parents very broad-minded. My father would always tell anybody, "Don't call her my daughter. She's my son. She's equal in every way as compared to my two sons." And so I have seen that build inside me right from the beginning, that a woman is never less than a man. So I have never ever touchwood faced something like this, and I've never allowed myself to see or face anything like that, because I have always been very proactive in every field of my business. I would never say that I cannot do this because it's a man's job. No, I will do this. In fact, some of my staff sometimes would in fact say, "Ma'am, आप रहने दीजिए, आप कैसे कर सकते हैं?" I said, "Why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? I will do it." So it's always been there at the back of my mind that I'm no less, and rightfully so. I've always had it at the back of my mind that I want to do as good as any man. I'm no less, and I have a daughter, and I expect her to do the same in her life. And so I mean, you also have a daughter, so it's very obvious that why is a woman less?
I think women are better CEOs, better entrepreneurs. By the way, it's like full
much,
disclosure.
I'm
As
sorry
an
to say
entrepreneur,
I'm sorry to say this, but they're much stronger. They're much
better
stronger.
multitaskers.
Yes.
I'm going to be
Yes.
So, I have an interesting story where I had this sales chap, and one fine day he told me that, "Madam, आप ladies होके brand बना सकते तो मैं क्यों नहीं बना सकता?" And then he went ahead and launched a brand, and it did not work. But it was just very funny how people also underestimate women entrepreneurs, and sometimes you really have to bite the bullet on that. Then,
yes, absolutely.
No, so my mom's a woman entrepreneur. She ran her business for many years, and I remember initially she had to really go through many. Like my dad was like, "Do what you're doing. I'm supporting in whatever you want to do, right?" And so he was thankfully that person. But for my mom, she had to kind of go through a bunch of things to actually set it up and scale it over time. She's happily retired now, but thanks to her kids. But I think what I've seen on her part as well has been many of these things. Right, she's actually gone through some of those. People saying
But I
that
think that's
hobby
also
thing
because,
is the most irritating part.
yeah, that could be because of the times then, right? I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's
of course.
changed. It's
Yeah,
definitely
it
changed
has
today.
changed.
And it's going to be much better for the next generation, for your daughter,
Yeah.
for my daughter, for Pallavi's kids, that it's not going to be there. I'm optimistic to say that it's not going to be there. There's not going to be like, "Oh, you're a woman." That statement would come out, won't come out at all.
I think people are worried about getting called out enough these days, so they will also not say. Thanks to social media for that, at least among from feedback. Like you said, feedback from customers. I'm like, feedback from people not saying stupid things is also, I think, an important.
at least for the sake of social media, I think that's a
For
good
the
thing.
sake of
The
social
addition
media.
which has kind of come in there.
No, but I would like to add the social media for any brand like Pallavi's online or any other woman who wants to start a brand is the backbone. It's the backbone. You cannot do without them.
Yeah.
You cannot do without them. Offline, okay, but I'm not offline, and I don't plan to be offline, because online I'm doing so well. I don't see the need for my categories to have a store, a physical store. It's not required. Because there's no trial, there's no size, there's nothing, right? So it's very easy for them to just buy it online. Why would I invest into going offline, and that stress of stores and closing with COVID and things like that? I mean, it's not required. So I think social media is, hats off to them. What they've done is brilliant.
towards the end of every show, I ask my guests a set of questions which have nothing to do about what we've spoken about so far. These questions have stayed the same. They are not. This is not rapid fire. There are no random, bizarre questions. It's just a way for our audience to kind of close off the episode with hearing things beyond the work. It always gets trickier when I have two guests because one gets more time. So I'm going to try and figure a way to
So you
do
can
this.
do alternate maybe.
I'll do alternate. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to actually start with you, Mamta. I'm going to ask you, what do you spend a lot of time doing outside of work? That is a core part of like who you are. But people would be like, really, you spend a lot of time doing that? What is that thing
Partying.
you do outside of work?
Partying. I've always loved partying.
Yeah.
If I get a little time to party, I would party. I don't get it these days, but yeah.
Can I tell you this? This question normally makes any guest take a couple of seconds in answering. You have been, I would say, amongst the top 4 or 5 people who answered before the question has gotten over. That is how quickly you have responded to this question.
I love partying. I want to party.
But that's how much you love
my
it.
life. Yeah, I want to party till the last moment of my life. Yeah. I want to work till the end. I want to party till the end.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to ask a different question.
No. The other question is going to come, but the other question will come first to you. So then Mamta gets time to think for it.
So my answer is rather boring comparatively. I love gardening and I keep doing that.
Okay. No, it's interesting.
You're interestingly not the first person to say this. A while ago, I think we're now like episode 170s now. In I think the first 30, 40 episodes, we had someone who came in and said he's an award-winning gardener and that was what he enjoys doing in his spare time. So I didn't know there were.
Wow.
He told me there were competitions and he's participated. So you're not the first person who said gardening. Although I think Mamta is the first person who said partying, by the way. All 170 episodes. No one has said this till now.
This is the 171st episode?
Something like that. I've lost count after
And how old is this, if I may ask?
The show started 2018. We've been going on since 2018, October, September onwards. It's been going on since then. Weekly since then.
So 4 years.
Yeah, close to 4 years now. Yes.
4 years. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're doing an average of mathematics 3 to 4 episodes a month.
One episode a week. Yeah. We do one episode a week. It goes out every Tuesday and
4 episodes a month.
Yes, exactly. 169th
sorry,
is what my producer just messaged me.
My maths is brilliant.
My producer just messaged me and said this is going to be episode 169 is what my producer me has nicely messaged. I'm very bad at math, which is
I'm always very good at maths, so I was quick at that.
So I'm going to ask Pallavi this first. Pallavi, what can you put together in an instant?
Maggie. Definitely. My son's favorite food and I can quickly make it for him.
You have given me the response that is the most given response.
See, amazing branding, right?
Yeah. I'm going to come to Mamta and say that you cannot say
favorite.
You cannot say throw a party.
It's my favorite. I have to have a Maggie once a week.
Mamta, same question to you, but you can't say throw a party.
Green tea.
Okay, fair enough. So there's green tea and there's Maggie. So there's pretty much today we are on a food focus on this question. To both of you, anything that you've read, watched, or listened to in recent times that you recommend? Either if you can kind of jump in. Mamta, you want to jump in? But
Inventing Anna.
Yeah, I've been hearing interesting things about that show.
It's brilliant. Brilliant. It's close to what I'm doing, and I mean, of course, on a different line that she has scammed people, but the way she's done it, the way it's been portrayed, the guts, the courage, the vision, it's fantastic. You must watch it. And Pallavi should also watch it.
I will. I've been contemplating, but I will watch it now.
It's good. It's very good.
Pallavi, how about you? Anything you?
I read this book called Infinite Game recently. Very interesting about putting things in like long-term versus short-term. Something that I think every founder has to think all the time. We say, "Lagao, yeah, I should take care of the brand image and invest more in branding or in sale." So I think that book really puts things in perspective. Very, very pertinent for founders.
Pallavi, if I may ask, when did you start the brand?
2016 is when I started, but yeah, 2018 I kind of pushed it.
Okay. Similar. For me, the push is, for me, it's 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, just 3 years.
So, and my final question is generally a spin on the name of the show. Again, gets tricky when I have two guests in here. So I'm just trying to figure out how to span this one on. But why do you think I'm going to make this a little more generic question to make it easier for myself. Why do you think the area of focus for your business? Actually, no, that's a bad question. I can't, for Pallavi especially, that cannot die. So I will have to go towards something else in that sense. Let me think of this a thought for a second here. More editing for the editor here. I'm just going to let him be. Okay. Why do you think building a connection with the consumer the way you have using a digital first approach will not die?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Why do you think the way you built a digital you had a digital first approach to building a connection with your consumer in the way you both build your businesses? Why do you think that kind of a connection will not die?
I think humans crave connections. They love connections, and digital is just a platform which is so much more efficient. The reach is infinite, so I don't see why connections are here to stay. Digital connections even more so, and I think people just crave connections a lot. They love to talk to people, connect with people, exchange ideas. So that is not going to die. And for brands, I think I love the name of your podcast. Advertising is dead, because it is. There's so much disbelief right now, and consumers are so bored of people pushing things onto them. I think these real connections will in fact become the way, because that's where the authenticity comes in, and the belief is far higher in that sense. So yeah, I think they're here to stay.
So it's got to be a combination, according to me, digital along with a human touch. Where, for instance, when women share their looks with us once they buy a product from us, they share reels. It's so amazing, how they do reels for the products they buy. It's so passionate. So that's a personal touch, right? And I'm sometimes amazed that they have so much time and effort taken on that. That they bought a product, they'll wear it, they'll shoot a reel, and they'll post it, and they'll ask us to tag them. So that's again a human touch on a digital platform. So it's got to be a combination of digital and human touch, where you appreciate what they've done, where you try to promote them, you tag them, you give them that reach. So it's got to be a combination of both, the digital bit of it plus the human touch. Not just that, oh, you've sold a piece and that's it, you've ended at that. No, it's got to carry on in some way.
Thank you so much for both of you for joining in. It's been I have a bunch of solid learnings from this. If I was able to do a D2C business or otherwise, I'm definitely going to use them. But thank you so much for coming on the show.
But I have a question for you at the end
of it. Yes.
How do you do this? I mean, with different segments, with different people, with different businesses.
Yes.
It's
I just ask them the questions which anybody would ask. So the whole point is that the whole point of this show is that I'm not an expert. I'm a learner. So all my audience members are learners. We want to learn about how businesses work. We want to learn how advertising, how content, how creators work. So which is why my questions are never now going back to
basically what I said initially, you are an encyclopedia now.
Yeah, I get to learn so much. My audience gets to learn so much. I've had people reach out over the years, say that okay, they've actually, like when they're in, like, let's say marketing college, or when they are in their jobs, they actually get to learn about an industry they might want to work in because of listening to the episode connected to that.
Commendable, because you're giving the foundation to so many of them. So many questions are already answered for so many people.
Yeah, it helps them make better career choices. Right? I think more than anything else.
Absolutely.
I've had people who found team members through this podcast. Like someone came as a guest and someone reached out to me saying, I want to really work with this company. So I would figure a way to connect them. And they would like, the literally people who become like chief business officers in other startups because they've literally reached out to me by listening to a founder on the podcast.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. So it's a lot of connection, right? It's a lot of connection that you're building. You're bridging the gap for so many people. It's truly commendable. Truly commendable.
Pallavi, you saying something? Sorry, I just realized while I was talking.
No, I just said that, I think this is something that our generation missed. We had a very limited view of what are the career choices. And I think this is great. This gets, if people are actually able to understand that there are so many other options, I think less people will become engineers in that sense.
No, so I think it makes them save, it makes them save, they save a lot of time, money, energy, effort, everything.
Yeah.
Thanks to you.
Trying whatever I can. Thank you so much, but still, thanks for sharing what you're sharing, because that's what makes the show what it is. And thanks for coming on Advertising is Dead.